Yep,
Okay.
you go.
Thank you, Prashant. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone who has joined us today live or are watching this session recording later. My name is Vishal Chawla, and I am one of the members of the organizing team for this bootcamp. For those of you who are joining us for the first time, Salesforce Marketer Group Singapore is super excited for organizing this biggest Salesforce Marketing Cloud bootcamp program in this region. The plan for this bootcamp is to cover 65 plus sessions on a wide variety of topics covering the various Salesforce marketing cloud products. To present these topics, we have invited some of the leading industry experts from across the globe. A very big thank you to one and all who are part of this wonderful Trailblazer community. Few housekeeping rules. For any questions during the session, please feel free to use the chat box. We will answer your questions during the session itself. For any questions post the session, please use the short link shown on the screen or scan the QR code. This will take you to a Google form where you can drop in your questions and we can get back to you with the answers later. All our sessions are recorded and uploaded on our YouTube channel. To access them, please use the short link shown on the screen or scan the QR code. Lastly, to sign up for all the upcoming sessions for this bootcamp, please visit our Trailblazer community page by using the short link or scanning the QR code. Here is the agenda for today's session, which is episode 12, Audience Builder. Get to know about Contact Builder and Audience Builder. We'll start with a quick introduction. Then we'll talk about contacts configuration, contact builder navigation, data source creation, data builder. This will be followed by resources and a Q&A session. Towards the end of the session, we'll have a quiz competition where the winners will get an opportunity to win exciting prizes. A shout out to the wonderful organizing team members who put in great effort for setting up these bootcamp sessions so that the Salesforce Trailblazer community can get access to quality learning. The team members are Abhishek, who is an SFMC technical lead, yours truly Vishal Chawla, I'm an SFMC solution architect, Prashant, who is a Salesforce technical lead, and Funny, who is a chief technology evangelist. With this, I would like to hand over to the speaker for today's session, Shashi Prasad. Shashi, why don't you give a brief introduction about yourself and take the session forward from there? Over to you.
Thank you, Vishal. So let me share my screen first. So the entire screen, yeah. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Thank you, Vishal, and the organizing team for having this bootcamp. And I'm very happy to be the part of this bootcamp. So today we'll start with the contact builder. We'll discuss mm, most of the terminologies that we use in contact builder. We'll discuss the feature overview and some of the very fun facts that we can use in contact builder. So let's start with my introduction. I am a technical architect at Markel EMEA, located in Barcelona. I have a 12 years of experience in the IT industry and 6 years in SFMC. I'm a blogger. I write a blog in blogger.com with a blog post where you'll find a lot of SFMC blogs. I'm a trailblazer, and in the trailblazer community, I have written more than thousands of answers till now. Uh, I am received the Best Answer Leaders and the Spotlight Award and the Brandy Award and also the Rising Star in the Trailblazer community. I have a YouTube channel where basically I uh, enable SFMC resources where I have already done AMP enablement and the journey builder. You can visit to my YouTube and you can go through. It will be more into a more technical details, not just an overview. So for that also you can visit the YouTube channel there. And also I conduct a lot of candid conversations with the SFMC geeks where you see Adam Spring, Pato, and even Pani, okay, and Gina and lot others to come. I think more than 17, 18 candid conversations I've already covered. If you're interested to know about the SFMC geeks, how they have struggled, how they have learned SFMC, you'll come to know with that videos as well. I have also my LinkedIn profile where basically I write a lot of articles on SFMC. You can see AMP you can see Query Studio, you can see SHS. That's what I do all the day. Okay. So now with this introduction, let's dive into Contact Builder. Okay. Okay. Before dive into Contact Builder, so this session I think is divided into two. One is for today, and the other one is for tomorrow. And tomorrow is even it will be more interesting. So today we'll dive into what is Contact Builder, what is about the configuration when you consider Contact Builder, what is Data Designer, what is all contacts, how data source can be implemented, what are data extensions, and what are the best practices that you have to follow. Then for tomorrow, we have that how we can do import and export into the Contact Builder, what are the common issues that you come across, and what are the best practices that you should do while resolving those issues, and how you do contact deletion and best practices, and few configurations related to Contact Builder and the contact analytics that we'll cover. So for today, let's start this. So what when we say what is a Contact Builder? So for us, basically a Contact Builder should be a framework, okay, where we basically define the underlying data structures, like it depends on which particular uh, use case you're defining for. So either you are catering to retail customers, okay, either your client is a health department, like, or you be a pharmaceutical company. So you have to first understand the data structure. And once you understand the data structure, then you come to the data designer, and then you basically make a visualized representation of all the data structures, how you're going to organize. So I don't go normally like how other people goes with define the terminology. I go with my own flavor. That's what I'm famous for, right? So whenever you design, right, the first thing is first you have to understand what is basically your vision of the client, what they want to achieve, what they want to do. If you have all these underlying aspects that you're known, and once you understand the framework, okay, what you're going to do, either you're just concentrating on sending email campaigns, either you also have SMS campaigns, you have newsletters, monthly newsletter, weekly newsletter, or you are conducting campaigns for webinars. If you have all this vision in place in first place, you will be in a better position. Then here we have the components in the contact builder. What are components? We have the data designer, we have the all contacts, we have the data source, data extensions, right? Import, contact configuration, contact analytics. Now here with all these components, basically you have to understand how you are bringing the data into Marketing Cloud. So you can bring the data into Marketing Cloud using the app data. Okay, you can have configured an app and bring the data via import process or API or many other processes. And then you decide how you're going to design your data. Once you design the data, whether it for email, whether it's for shopping cart, or whether or you're sending customers the offer, or you're doing advertisement to Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram, LinkedIn. Okay, and then once you have understood all this data designer part, then you're going to store all the data into our data extension. And data extension, you when you store data into data extension, you basically do not basically try to manipulate the data. It's basically you are going to store the data, so that where you store with the specific information there, and that specific information will basically help you filtering and segmenting the data, right? Just a minute there. So now, once we understand, okay, uh, what we are going to do in the contact builder, okay, how we are representing the data, how we are analyzing the data, and how you are representing the data, then the scope of the data comes into picture. Now, with your Enterprise 2.0 account, you configure the contact builder at only one business unit. That will be your parent business unit. And your child business unit, you define either based on your client, right? Either it could be a brand, either it could be a region, or different portfolio, how they are basically managing their account. So in this example, I'm taking brand A and brand B. So I'm dividing the business unit in between different brands. Okay. Now let's say I'm using MC Connect to bring the data from different sales clouds like sales or service cloud. And once I integrate the data, I will share the data across different business unit using share data extension. Now, based on that brand, I can also define my data extension, the local data extension, which we call in for the individual business unit. Now, with these business units, once I've defined the data extensions, based on the shared data extension and the local data extension, I can create my data model, which we basically in marketing cloud we always call is as a contact model, because we are basically targeting some subscribers, okay, and those subscribers are basically termed as contact. So initially, during the exact target days was it was more only catering to the email. Okay, so once it got integrated to Salesforce, and then they started with SMS. Now we have WhatsApp as well. We have line messaging and all others. So this is how you configure in a business unit. Now, if this, I think Matthews has basically defined how the architecture has to be there. So he might have defined you how the hierarchy has to be defined, how you can use subscriber filters, right? How you can use profile attributes or the preference center. All these things might have been discussed by some other speakers there. So moving forward, now again we are big because contact builder is more about data, right? So what kind of data do we capture in marketing cloud? We capture demographic data, we capture channel identifiers because we will be communicating with different channels, right? And also we'll be storing the preferences, like if customer like Vishal wants to get communications via email, so he has to give the consent for getting that email. So consents and preferences come into another design model, right? And for the behavior model, we basically, when we talk about behavior model, is like, how you're engaging with the customer, whether the person has basically, opened the message if it's an email, whether he has clicked certain links, whether he has opened the SMS, you know. So all these behavioral things that you capture using the behavior model, where you will design the behavior model by using different data views, or you can create your own custom data views. You can go to the Salesforce and ask them to create your data views. Okay. Obviously, there is a pricing intact with creating your own data views. And more with the retail customers, there might be a transactional data that you have to take into account, like whether they are purchasing some products, and all those transaction messages has to be sent. You can store that as a transactions. Okay. And you can use Einstein as for intelligence data capture. Then once we understand, okay, what we are capturing, the when we comes to a channel, we have different channels. So here I've taken only three channels to take into consideration. We have the email channel, we have the mobile channel, and the push. So it each channel has an identifier. So if I have to send an email, I'm going to send an email to a customer who need to have a valid email address. Not only just not having an email address, but it should have a valid email address. Similarly, if you have to send an SMS, the person has to have a valid phone number. And the valid phone number, like you are defining long codes and short codes, but if you have brought a short code for Australia and you're trying to send it for India, it doesn't work. So also need to have a valid phone number. If you're using short code for Australia, then the number also has to be Australia, right? So similarly, if you're doing the push, you have to build an app, and the app, it will, with the app ID, it has to be captured, and the device ID will be have to captured. It has to have a valid device ID, and so on. So with all this, like for sending email, you need to have an email address. For sending SMS, you need to have a mobile number. Now all this connection has to be built with a contact key. Now that's why the lot of confusion, or people might have explained what is the difference between a subscriber key and a contact key. So subscriber key you can consider is as a subset where you are targeting customers with email channel, right? Now, if you take a holistic picture of marketing cloud, then everything concentrates on the contact key, where we go into all contacts, we'll know what is a contact key. So for in a very layman terms, just consider subscriber key to be the subset. Okay. Now we are going to the data designer. Now in the data designer, we have three sections. One is the attribute group, one is the population, and the events, which will be almost be retired now going forward. So these events would be like maybe sending like a anniversary email, okay, or maybe a birthday email. So those kind of a journey configurations that can be done, but this will be retired going forward. So now going to the attribute, I'm okay. Can I ask somebody like, am I going fast?
No,
No?
I think you're
Okay.
perfect.
Okay. So next is the attribute group. Now, when we are defining an attribute group, what we are doing is we are organizing different data extensions, linking every data extensions, giving them a relationship, how we are basically representing them. So the best method is to have a master table where we call a master data extension, and then link with your different campaigns. Say if you are using uh, monthly newsletter, okay. So for that monthly newsletter, you have a master D, and from the master D, let's say if I'm sending to, let's say, a healthcare, so I want to send it to oncologist. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a filter data extension on top of the master, okay, where I'm going to define, say, the specialty is oncology. Now I can bring and I can assign that another data extension with a one-to-one relationship. Or if I'm sending a webinar for oncologist, now if I'm going for a webinar campaign, then how I'm going to define? I'm going to define a data extension where it will capture the webinar details as well as the oncology department uh, doctors, right? Then I can have a different data extension where then I will define the webinar invitation. I'll show you all this in the demo where you'll be able to understand how this attribute group designing can be done. But this is more of related to building a schema kind of a thing with a relationship that you are defining in a graphical interface in Marketing Cloud. Now, when you're defining a relationship, right, you have to define how you're basically having a relationship. So first will be your system data, which always be the contact key. You can go to the contact configuration and make it relationship with the contact ID. We'll show in the next session how that can also be done. But in a very precise way, when you are doing or when you're configuring your attribute group data designer, it's always people fall back into contact key, because for contact ID, it is a system generated ID. So you have to basically pull all the contact ID and then maintain in the data relationship. So contact key is much better option to do it. So whenever we define with the contact key. And for whenever we discuss, uh, say, email channel, we always call this as a subscriber key. Okay. For SMS is always you call it as a contact key, but you can define the attribute as a subscriber key. So this is how we define the relationship for a data extension in the attribute group. And then this one is the very important aspects for an attribute group when you're defining a relationship. That is the cardinality. You have two options: either it will be one to one or it will be one to many. So if I take an example that I previously gave, that will be a webinar campaign, then there might be like, consider this segment as well. Like today we are contact builder is divided into two different sessions. So this is session 12, tomorrow there will be session 13. And I'm one of the speaker, so I'll be speaking in both the events. So it will be like, if I'm defining a data extension with this bootcamp, then I will have one to many relationship. Okay, but there may be other speakers who will have one to one also. So that may be like, there again you can differentiate between what was this bootcamp event for. This is a contact builder. So this is how, if you perceive and design data extensions, it will be more normalized, and define the cardinality will go. What is the uh, very important things that you have to consider while defining the cardinality? So when we're defining cardinality, obviously we can create a population which always has to have one-to-one relationship with the contact key. And whenever you're defining the master data extension, it also has to be a one-to-one. And when you are making, like, yeah, the best example is when you have the transactional history, like purchase history of a customer, then it will be one to many. So now this question will leave it to you, where we'll have this kind of situation where the cardinality will be many to many. And will it impact your journey? Will it impact your design and all? Or maybe we can get this answer from you all. Okay. So based on this cardinality, we discuss about, we are binding the data. So when you're binding the data, how this comes into picture, right? So let's say, take the example of a webinar. For a webinar campaign with the master D, you have one to many relationship. Okay. And you have built a journey where a particular subscriber can enter into the journey more than once. So for me, like, I entered into a journey for session 12, and again I entered into journey for session 13. So Fani has already sent me the invitation for all these two sessions, right? I have both this one. Now, if they have sent this email, send this invitation via journey, then the next action what is to be taken, if there is a certain transaction that has to be taken, okay, whether I'm answering your questions in some other sessions, or maybe somebody posting some questions in their YouTube video and somebody is answering there. So it, to define those categories, you have to define, okay, there's two entity for Sasi, right? Two records entered into that particular entry. So which particular transaction is going to be associated with that particular message? So here the cardinality is going to play a big role. So if you have one to many, and if you are using contact data in your decision split, it will give you a warning. because you're not able to associate for which particular record you're trying to take that particular action, right? So you have to basically define your relationship in such a way where it should be mapped with one to one going in that relationship, and then that particular message action should be associated. We'll try to see all this in a demo when we show some demo there. And yeah, this one is the most important aspects. Okay, it has both the advantages and the disadvantages. Disadvantages when you're using a population. Okay, so population represents like a master set. As I was giving an example, I have already defined. Okay, I will discussing healthcare. So in the healthcare, I have uh, doctors, I can have health organizations, I can have patients. Okay, so for me, I'll prepare three different master D: one for doctors, one for patients, and one for the healthcare organization. So I'll have three populations. Okay, and once I create a population, so the important factor is, say, some doctors does not want to get email. Okay, they just are interested in getting SMS. And some doctors will be like, I don't want to give my phone number. I just want them to send me any communication via email to my organization's email address, right? So they will have their own preferences. And when you're bringing the data into marketing cloud, it has to be tightly coupled so that the number of contacts that you're creating, it has a licensing cost. Okay, and if you're not tying up these subscribers, the contacts together, then maybe, if a doctor, let's say Dr. This again call it Chawla. Okay, so Dr. Chawla, uh, he has given consent to get communication via email as well as SMS. Now, if you're manipulating the data and your contact key is different for Mr. Chawla, then you're creating two contacts, right? But if you use population and you're making one to one and you're using the same contact key, then you're not you're not messing up with the deduplication or the duplication of the account. And this will definitely benefit when you have GDPR and other rules that you have to follow, where you have to delete the contact whenever there is some policy to delete the contact. And to delete, you can directly go to the master D, right? Filter out whoever one has asked you to delete the data. It will be much easier for you. So with GDPR, with the Japan policy or the Australian policy that has been defined, it will be much easier for you doing the GDPR. Okay, even if you want to with GDPR, if you have to encrypt the data, right? And when you already have a master D, then it's very easy for you to apply the encryption rule as well. But if you don't have the master D, then if you are in a very huge team, then they are using, let's say, give an example of synchronization data extension. You are bringing contacts, okay, and from the contacts through the shared data extension, you add it to a business unit, and from there you are building your local data extensions, and from the local data extensions you are sending, you are using those as an entry source in your journey. So every individual, every team member will create different data extensions. And if they have not used the master D, rather they have, filtered synchronized data extensions, created an automation. They have their own automation sets. Everybody has their own automations and every data extensions. Then the encryption, GDPR, or the cleanup of the data extension becomes a big troublesome in a very big team. So population is a way forward to go. Okay, and there are few caveats with population is, like, let's say if you are preparing a master D, and in the master D you are associating in the data designer in the attribute group, you build a master D, then you can't create that as a population. Either if you have already made it as a population, then you can't add it to the attribute group. Okay, and it has to be a sendable data extension. The another caveat for population is whether you send an email, whether you send a communication or not, but if you made it as a population, it will be added to your all contacts. It will be added to your licensing cost. This is another caveat for using a population. Now coming to all contact, this is basically more related to your cost. Okay, this is more related to defining how many contacts you have for email, how many contacts you have for WhatsApp, how many contacts you have for posts. This will give you the segmentation of the all contacts. Okay, you can go through all contacts and see the total number of contacts. So for me, it's the relevance of this all contact is to understand the segmentation aspects, to understand the total number of contacts that you have added to your marketing cloud in your account, right? So, and if you want to basically don't want to give access to everyone, then you can go define the custom role and you can deny the permission for certain set of your users so not to view this content. This is one of the most important thing that I see in marketing cloud. How the contacts are counted, because we are discussing all contacts. So you need to understand how data is counted, right? So you're syncing synchronous data extension, which becomes a bigger chunk of data that you are syncing in. And if you do not follow some of the best practices in the syncing of the data extensions, synchronous data extensions from sales or service cloud, your contact, though you are not even communicating those with those subscribers, it will add to your all contacts. As soon as you start with the synchronization, whatever number of contacts that flows in, that will add it to all contacts. Now you can import via CSV file, right? Or you can import via app data, API, and others also. And if you're adding to the all contacts, obviously it will have a cost factor attached to it. But if you're just storing in a data extension, definitely it does not have a uh, contact licensing for those. You're just storing the information. So again, going with the count of the contact, right? So first is the contact deduplication. Now, if you use a population, as I said, is a master D. So obviously, if you are, you know, uh, creating a lot of different data extensions from that master D, obviously it will have only one contact key, same value. So only one uh, contact is being created. So deduplication for helping also this population is going to help for you, because you will come to understand root as data in the data extension, which has been now deprecated, but is related to the data designer with population. Okay. Now coming to which will be included. Now, if you're sending emails and we are discussing your all subscribers. So you're sending communications, you're sending millions of communication daily, and those people are basically unsubscribing. Okay. And there are many subscribers who are in the held status. Now, if they are in a held, okay, or unsubscribed, even though you're not sending them a communication, they are still being counted as the contact, and your licensing cost is getting incurred in there, right? Because what marketing cloud has to say is, if you have unsubscribed, or even if that subscriber is in the held status, you can still send them transactional emails. Now, if you are sending, the purchase, the person is doing some purchasing and all, and then you can still send. So define by a use case, how you're sending the communication. If your communication is more related to campaigning, where you have sending product information or some offers and all, it comes to, it doesn't come into transactional sense. So either go to contact deletion, and maybe you can delete them and keep it with you, maybe in some non-sendable data extensions that you can utilize later. The other one is again is the synchronized data extension. Now in the synchronized data extension, let's say if you're taking Sales Cloud, you might have a lot of different objects there, but which certain objects that counts into your contact is your contact object, leads, user, and very people seldom forget you have a person account. So in your account, if that account record is of a person account, that also comes into picture in your contact count. Okay, so which one is not included? Those contacts that you have deleted, and maybe for an archival mechanism you have stored in some non-sendable data extension, it doesn't account into your contact count. So I don't know if I went very fast or very slow, but here are the very interesting facts about contact builder. Maybe I said something earlier as well, but I'll try to reiterate whatever I said. Okay. So first thing is about the binding, data binding that we discussed. So data binding is very necessary. And for that, we use population. If you are using, say, certain subscribers who are only has a preference to get email communication, some as SMS communication, but you're binding with the contact key, same contact key, then for cross channels, you're going to use population so that you don't get into binding error and creating duplicates records in Marketing Cloud. Now, you can also, what you can do is, let's say, I think Pato was in 2017, he had created some custom activities where through a journey, they can send postcard to the address of the subscriber. So this is a non-digital communication also you are doing, but still you're connecting through a contact key. And if you're building custom activities in Journey Builder, there also you can use population and then use it. The other one, as I already said, is like when you have a GDPR application where you have to consider, where you have to delete, we have to encrypt the data, then population comes into play. Okay, and this one is very interesting one. Like I get a lot of questions when I do Journey Builder is they want to send uh, email, okay, to certain subscribers, and the subscriber is keep on changing the email address, right? So let's say you create a data extension and you have the entry source where you define the email address to whom it has to be sent. Obviously, in the journey setting, you have options whether to select the email address from the all contacts or whether you send it from the entry source. But if you select it from the entry source, if the person change the email address, there's a problem there, right? It will always go to the old email address. You have options to import. There is an import you can do via automations where you can keep on updating the email address, right? And for that, you can use population as one of a area where you can select the email address that is to be taken from population, which keeps on updating. Okay. And the other one with the population is when you use MC Connect, the auto register of the contact and the lead using contact ID and the lead ID also gets into properly synchronized. Okay. So the impact, if you're saying why should I use population, what is the advantage? These are the advantage, but there is a disadvantage. Disadvantage is if you create a population, okay, and if you start adding records into that population, no matter whether you send a communication or not, it is be incurred into your number of contacts and the licensing cost. Okay. So the next one. Now, if you feel interested with using population, definitely I feel this one is as an interesting feature in Marketing Cloud to be used. And people ask, okay, how many populations can I create? So obviously, if you want, you can create as much as you want, but marketing Salesforce people say, okay, you can have only 3 as a best practice. You can have more. Okay. And for me, to give an example, if I'm focusing on the health industry as I started from the beginning, so for me, it will be like doctors and patients, but I can include healthcare organizations as well as on the population if that has to be a B2B communication. If I'm considering on the B2C, then it's doctor, where I'm sending them webinar campaigns so that they can attend a webinar and learn something. Okay. Or from the financial institutions, it will be more like a employee and the customer relationship that I'm going to build. Now, yeah, when we are going to the contact builder, okay, we are creating the data designer and we are linking different data extensions. How we can link? What are the caveats that you have to think? So, list is not supported. List K was in the exact target times where they were focusing more on the email. That was there. Now, coming SMS and other channels, they start with the data extension. So, in data designer, you can only link data extensions, both sendable and non-sendable. And uh, to link as a population, it has to be a sendable data extension. Advantage point is you have to make it sendable because during contact deletion, if you are doing a contact deletion, all whatever sendable data extensions that you have configured for a business unit, those also will be deleted when you're doing the data deletion. Okay. And in a journey activity, when you're running a journey and you can create your own custom tracking, right? With the update contact activity, or which data extension you can update, it will should be a sendable data extension. You can't update non-sendable data extension via update activity in a journey builder. Okay. And coming to mobile studio, in mobile studio, like once you enable mobile studio into your marketing cloud, it comes into the attribute uh, as a pre-configured attributes. Okay. Yeah, you can add some additional attributes there, or you can link, like you can create a data extension and again link back, go to that attribute. Okay. And then you can have build a relationship with the existing attribute groups. That can also be done for the mobile studio. And also with the synchronized data extension, like once you synchronize the data extensions and once you build all those objects there, you'll also get another attribute group for the synchronous data extensions. And another very interesting fact here is, okay, let's say you are creating, what happens if this basically happens when you have a very big team and every individual group are concentrating on their own use cases. So let's say in my team, I have 4 groups. One is concentrating on the newsletter, one team is concentrating on the webinar, right? And so on. They have a same master D. Okay. From the master D, they may use filter data extension, random data extension, or they might use query activities and build another data extensions. And based on their use case, they might go to the data designer, create their own attribute group based on their use case, and they try to link. But let's say if I'm an architect, I understand all this data relationship, all this behavioral data, demographics data, and all this preference. mm, We are defining the data model. We have already created one data model based on this attribute group is based on how I'm getting the data from the upstreams. Let's say if you are using Sales Cloud, so from the Sales Cloud, I have discussed with the Sales Cloud team how they have defined their architecture there, how the relationship is between different objects. So taking that picture, I come to the data designer and let's say with contact, with opportunities lead, I will build the same relationship, one to many, many to one and all, right? Now I have already defined that attribute group. And let's say tomorrow my webinar team, they comes and tries to build a relationship. If they're using the same data extension that we have configured, okay, then if you try to link the data extension, the existing relationship will be added automatically. You don't have to create again from the scratch. Okay. But The other caveat is like if you have create a population, you can't bring that into the attribute group. Okay, and the same the reverse. If you have a master D and the master D has been linked as a one-to-one with the contact key, and you have built the relationship, you can't use it as a population. So it's either you build a population or either you build as a one-to-one relationship in the attribute group. You have that either options. This is the another interesting fact when you're doing the data designer and the relationship. So we intend when we say because whenever we synchronize data extension and bring contact ID, right, or say lead ID. Okay, so when we say ID, our institution is saying that okay, this ID is the primary key, this will be the subscriber key, and sometimes we seldom make it as a data type as number. Okay, but contact key is a string. So if you go to the data designer and try to basically link them to, you'll not be able to link because contact key is a string and your subscriber key is an integer. So you have to again revert back, go to the data extension, modify or create a new data extension, and then start. That is one point. The another important point is, say you're using contact ID or contact key, lead ID, right? So in Salesforce, the maximum character limit is 18. But what I mostly see people using 254, 255 length. But that is not a good practice to do. If you are clear with your understanding, okay, what is the contact key, how you're defining a contact key, okay, whether it's a MDM ID, whether it is a contact ID, lead ID, and all. If you have understood this, then you're not going to make it to 56 because it will lead to a lot of performance issue when you write a query. So what Salesforce says, you can't make the contact key more than 256. Okay, so it will say either make it 254, 255 in your data extensions, especially with respect to the contact key. Okay, obviously the number of lanes now initially it was 8,000 in the data data extension. Now they have reduced to 4,000. But even if you go to Email Studio, you can make it varchar max. If you go to data extension, we'll show that. So now next topic is the data source. Okay, so this data source basically defines what attributes that you are tagging to your different application. So for example, you have a email application, and email application, you'll have a subscriber key, right? You have the subscriber ID and the email address. So those attributes will be defined. If you're using a mobile application, it should have the, uh, the demographic informations. You might have the phone number, you have to have the local and all. We'll show that. So all those linking of the data sources, like if you're using API, okay, if you're using cloud page and adding to the all contacts, all those attributes you can define using a data source. And for synchronized data extension, obviously they have a predefined attributes that you're going to link, and you have an option to go to that particular configuration, set up the object, and define which you want to add it into your marketing cloud. Here, synchronized data extension is one of the most extensively used as a data source. So whenever we have to use synchronized data extension, you need to have a MC connect. And you have to understand all those permission sets, not only respect to the MC Connect user, with respect to the objects as well, which normally not everybody have yet understood. They This actually happens when basically you are using a custom object to synchronize into your marketing cloud. So they say, okay, I can see contact, I can see the lead object, but I can't see some knowledge object or say some other objects that was created that is a derived object. So for that, I am going to touch down there. But the most important thing which I have recently seen, okay, with synchronized data extension is Once you start the setup, as I've shown the screenshot at the below, they are now giving a new option, okay, to share this data extension with your own business unit or across the enterprise, or you can select a specific business unit. Okay. So what happens is, let's say you have a parent and then you have two different child's business unit. Okay. Now with the child business unit, these are multi org environment where you say child one is connected to EMEA org. Okay. Child two is connected to APAC org. So you have different orgs that has been connected. Okay. So what you can do from the parent, obviously you can access all the uh, synchronized data extensions. You can query all the synchronized data extensions for different business unit. But if you have a child business unit which is inheriting the EMEA org, then you have now they are giving you the option to basically share this synchronized data extension where you can go and run the query. Obviously, you might have to add ENT prefix to that data extension, and whenever you sync, uh, if you are using multi-org, they use a suffix with that. Let's say uh, for business unit one, you are using this contact object. Then this contact objects will be come as a name as contact Salesforce one. Now for business unit two, when you are doing the synchronization, it will come as contact Salesforce two. So that will be the difference there. There are different caveats plus there with the synchronization data extension. This will take another 1 hour if I go detail, but you can go to my YouTube channel where I've described a lot of caveats to synchronous data extensions, what can be taken into consideration, what are the alternatives. If you're not able to sync that object, you can do the other way using interaction tab. I have discussed in the journey builder enablement in my YouTube. You can go there and see there. So this is the most important criteria when you want to synchronize object in Marketing Cloud. So the object, if you are not able to see, okay, if you are not able to find in Marketing Cloud, then you have to understand whether the object is queryable, whether it is a creatable, is retrievable. These are permission sets, replicatable, and the custom setting. So you will not come to know. Obviously, you have to talk to your Salesforce team and ask them whether they have given this permission to that object or not. If they have given the permission set, obviously this will show in your objects. If it is not showing, yeah, still there is an option to do it with interaction and doing the input. Okay. And the most important thing with synchronized data extension is whenever you're doing the configuration setup, okay, you have an option because when we move again forward, maybe it will be tomorrow, we'll see the common issues. And one of the common issue is you are doing a synchronization with a sandbox, okay, which is basically more of a test environment, and you're bringing all the records. Now, if you're bringing all the contacts, which is more than 1 million and all, you're adding to all contacts. You're adding to your parent business unit with these records, right? You're incurring a lot of cost, wastage of space and all. So if it is really true that you have to bring all the records, you have an option to sync all the records, okay? Or you can also ask them to create some custom attributes to the sales cloud team, and you can define to bring only those records which have email addresses, or you have an option, okay, an option to basically specify the date. Let's say uh, you are defining your EMEA org, you are connecting to EMEA org, and the EMEA org is going live. So today is 11 February. So they are going live from 28th February. So you have an option to say, okay, I want to bring the data from 28th February. You can configure, but still you can specify the date from where you want to get the data into Marketing Cloud. So all this configuration point of view is from the architectural point of view, from the licensing point of view. Okay. And also for the better performance, because what you're doing is you're basically the synchronous data extension in backend is calling an API. And if you're doing 15 minutes of synchronization and you have more than 10, 20 records, objects, and multi-org, and you have 10, 15 business unit, you are consuming lot of API also. And sometimes it will create a lot of problems with the synchronization also. Okay. So you have to understand, okay, whether it is real time or you have some campaigns or some communication that you are building real time with synchronous data extension, then the pool of 15 minutes is okay. But if that is not the case, that you are not using campaigns or communications which is not exactly real time, then maybe you can break that pool into 1 hour. So the choice is yours. Salesforce has given you the option, but understand the caveat. Oh, would you really require everything in real time or not? Okay. Because you in the journey builder, you also have the Salesforce data as an entry source. So that will become more of a real time, right? So if you can think about it and then decide how you're going to implement synchronous data extension, because it has a lot of caveats to their performance. Okay. Now with the data source, as we said, because we are discussing synchronous data extension, which is also the part of the data source. So small companies or some legacy companies like banking and all, they might have a lot of legacy portals as well. So through data source, you can bring data from external websites through API, through CSV file. CSV file, it has a limit of 20 MB. If it's more than 20 MB, then you have to use FTP. Okay. From landing pages also, you can add it to your data source, or it be POS or web analytics like Google Analytics, okay, or sales or service cloud. You can add it into your data source. Now coming to the data extension, and yesterday I know Matthew has asked, okay, well, there are a lot of differences when it goes to data extension, because you can create data extension from Email Studio as well as Contact Builder, right? So why we need data source? We can directly inject all the records directly into all contacts. We have an option. We can update directly or we can create a contact, right? So why we need a data extension? So data extension is required because we are storing those information, and that information has to be a standalone information. Like if I'm saying doctor, I'm not going to bring, okay, doctor physical address, okay, where he resides, what his timing and all into one data extension. When I'm saying doctor, I'll be like, okay, doctor ID, which might be the primary key, and his first name, last name, and all, which I required for personalization in Marketing Cloud. I'm not going to bring all the other information. And if I have to bring other relationship with respect to doctor, okay, like what is his specialty, what is his preferences, maybe I'll create another data extension. So isolate your data extension to store information only based on those required information that you want to pull. Don't bring all the data into one data extension, creating thousands or hundreds of attributes into a data extension. It will again lead to your performance issue when you because most of us are inclined towards writing queries, right? So it will create a lot of issues with your timeout issues and all. Then the obvious question is, what we can store? Definitely, you can store any data in Marketing Cloud, right? You can bring commerce data, you can store information or product SKU, but the most important factor is why you're storing data in Marketing Cloud. Data is not Marketing Cloud is not a data warehouse, right? And if you bring every information into Marketing Cloud, every historical data, web analytics, and all, okay, how you're utilizing to send a communication. This is a communication tool. So if you have the ability, you have the ability to track information, log information, because Marketing Cloud in the behind the scene, they have the system tables where they actually stores all this information. And from automation, you can go and you know bring the tracking data, any logging data from the system table using import activity in automation and store it there. So why you are doing this? You should ask the question, right? And only add only those relevant data that you are required for sending communication. If it requires certain activity based on some certain actions that you're bringing, then maybe sometimes you have to bring the data into marketing cloud. But I'm against bringing all the data into marketing cloud, and because it will lead to a lot of chaos in marketing cloud, because marketing cloud is not a relationship database diagram. Okay, you can't bring a relationship design here and you try to implement, though you have data designer and all, but data designer and the entity relationship is totally different. So in data extension, you have, yeah, that's what I said. Like in data extension, how you're going to bring the data, you have a lot of options. You can bring it through a file, through CSV or tab delimiter, or you can bring it via FTP. Okay, you can use Marketing Cloud API, or you can do the import activity through Automation Studio, and you can bring it into Marketing Cloud. But the most important factor is about the permission sharing, okay, which you do, including tracking of the data extension. And there are a lot of other points in data extensions, like when you build a data designer, okay, and if you have to manipulate the data extension, it's always recommended you go to the contact builder, because contact builder is that particular tool where data designer is configured. So rather than going into email studio, you should go to the contact builder and uh, modify the data extension. Okay, so but sharing, you want to set some permissions to the data extension, it always resides in the email studio. And coming to the different data types, data extension types, we have a standard data extension types, which we basically try to create. I would always reside with the master D for the health. If you take the health organizations, then I'll say doctor, patients, all the HCO. Okay, and the filter data extensions, yeah, it can be defined like, if I have to filter out doctors based on specialty, okay, hospital based on their regions, and patients based on their booking timing. So you have that option to do. Random is data extension where you define a master data extension if you have a very big data, say 120 million, 150 million, and so on. So it's better, maybe you can, when you want to send an email or send a communication, you can use a random data extension, define the percentage of the population where you want to segregate between that data extension, and then you can batch the communication there where you use the random data extension. It will help you in the throughput of the email communication and all. Coming, yeah, again, that's what I'm again with the random or with the filter data extension. It's more of a segmentation, right? So now you have a segmentation whenever this term comes out very largely, because all the Salesforce people are now uh, jumping their guns with the CDP. Okay, so you had an issue in Marketing Cloud with segmentation. You had a lot of issues in Marketing Cloud. That's why they have now CDP. You have now Genie, right? So data extension should be, that's what I was saying. Like, it should be a standalone data that you're storing. Okay, and if it is a large audience, use the segmentation. And how to use the segmentation? Yeah, the best way is to use query to segment. Okay, but still for the query, you have a lot of options to reside on based on the field lane, primary key, different type of primary key and all, which we'll discuss tomorrow. But mostly the data extension should reside only those data where you want minimum segmentation to be done. And always be very specific when you do the data manipulation. Don't try to manipulate the data into marketing cloud. Rather, you can ask the sales, if you're integrating with the sales cloud, maybe they should basically manipulate the data and send it to you. Okay, if it is from Akamai, ask them, or if it is Informatica or some BI or some other, they those people basically should do all this deduplication, including deduplication. It should be done outside marketing cloud, not inside marketing cloud. Now, data extension type, as I said, it is we have sendable data extension, non-sendable data extension. So, with respect to sending communication, everybody knows you need to make it sendable data extension, right? Sometimes people seldom forget of making the data extension as testable data extension. Now, if you make it as a testable data extension, you can create a preview of the subscribers in that particular data extension, and you can send, let's say, you create a data extension and you have 100 subscribers there, okay, which are live data, which are live subscribers. And if you make it testable and you are generating a email, you want to preview that email, so you have to select the data extension and you preview it. But if you want to perform a test, okay, you can give your email address, and then you can receive 100 email based on those different subscribers into your email. It will be not counted as a sending to the real customer. You're doing a test. So I've seen a lot of people has forgot of using testable data extension along with the sendable data extension. Okay, non-sendable data extension are storing information for the actions that you want to perform. If there is certain things, especially with journey builder or maybe even automations, if you have to have tracking and all, those will come into non-sendable data extension, right? So we are discussing data extension. So we will be discussing in data extension when we are making sendable, you have two options. Either you map it with the subscriber ID or map with the subscriber key. So there will be a relationship with the subscriber key or the subscriber ID you have to define. And if you know it better, like if you're using MDM ID, okay, or you're using loyalty number or the CRM ID like the lead ID, contact ID, or if you don't know all of these IDs or you don't know the upstream system and you're doing a manual import, maybe sometimes people use email address. So this relationship you have to identify, and uh, relationship building is done based on the contact key and the subscriber key. Now, as we have gone a very long path with contact builder for today, so these are the best things that you should consider when you're building a uh, contact builder with data extensions. You have to use a unique value, okay, to that's not related to a specific channel. Now, if you say I'm going to send email, so you might be inclined towards making an email address as a subscriber key, but which is likely to change over time, right? So it's better if you don't have any option, maybe use GUID, okay? But if you already know the primary key, the indexing and all, how they do in Salesforce, then you can use contact ID, or the if you're using from some database system, then they have the data store ID and all. Bring the data and add it to the contact key. That is the best practice that you should always follow. Don't define something which will be keep on changing over time, otherwise you'll be creating a lot of duplicate records. The other issue might happen is if you're importing data from, say, sales cloud, also let's say Akamai. So if you bring that both into marketing cloud and you say, okay, I will make Akamai the subscriber key from Akamai, I want to bring Salesforce and make it the Salesforce ID as a contact key, that also will lead to duplication. So that's why I said master D is one of the most, or the population is one of the most famous, where you know you can relate the Akamai ID and the Salesforce ID into one and make it as a population. So that is one of the most important thing that you should consider. Okay. The other one is related to the contact deletion. Is always recommended, right? You should always keep on cleaning the data extensions that are not required. You need to put the retention policies. You can have a automation build up which will clean the data regularly and all. You can have SSJs, AMScript and so on, or you can do manually also. So which are not contactable, especially in terms of unsubscribe and health status, okay, which are in health who have opted out from SMS and all. Those will be the most better way you can do the data deletion. And again, I'm repeating and again I'm saying is the deduplication should be done outside Marketing Cloud. Bringing it into Marketing Cloud and doing deduplication is not recommended. Okay, so before we go to question and answer, do we have time to show them a demo?
Yep, Shashi, we have.
Oh, okay,
We can have, yeah, 10, 15 more minutes.
okay, maybe okay. So in 10-15 minutes, let me try to see if I can demonstrate this. Okay. Okay. So I'm into my Marketing Cloud instance and I've come here. Okay, let me start from the beginning. So maybe everyone, when they log in, they will come to the email studio, right? If you hover up and go to the contact builder, I can go to the contact builder. If you don't have the permissions, maybe you can ask your admin to give you the permission to view the contact builder and then get the access. So the first part which we are discussing was the data designer. Okay. So in the data designer, I have created few with related to healthcare only. I have created few attributes. So first, let me go to the webinar one. Okay. So here in the webinar, I have used basically the doctor as a population. So most probably the population is the most important aspects to show you all first. So I have created two populations, one with doctors, okay, and one with patients. So here is the population, okay. So doctor ID, email, title, first name, last name, and all these attributes that has been created. And I'm going to I'm creating a webinar campaign. So for the webinar campaign, I'm creating the attribute group here, okay, calling this as a webinar. So for the webinar, I want to send webinar invitations to doctors. So here we have the doctor ID, the webinar ID, the topic, and the when it will start, the webinar, when it is going to start. And if I have to build this relationship, here I have built this relationship with this doctor, okay, as one to many with the webinar invitation. Okay, here I have an option to make it one to one or one to many. And if you don't want to add it to your population, you have an option, you can change this. Okay. Then you can basically go to the contact key. There's a system key, and you can define this also as one to many. But I already have a population. So sorry, I use with the doctors here. So if you see this is a doctor one, which I've created. Okay. Now I'm going to send this invitation based on their locations or preferences. Okay. So here I have another relationship that I built with the webinar invitation with the doctor's location. So this doctor and the subscriber key for this doctor location, I have one-to-one relationship. I've built this relationship here. Okay. And once I send the webinar invitation, if the person registers, I'm going to send them the webinar confirmation. So with this webinar invitation, I have built another relationship here where I have the webinar ID and the doctor ID as a relationship. So this I have used a composite key as a primary key here. So here I'm making it one to one so that it will basically benefit me if I'm using this as a contact of the contact data in your journey builder to make it specific to a certain message, okay, certain actions to be performed. This will help you when you make it one to one. So once the person has registered for a webinar and it is successful, then I'm going to send them a confirmation saying that you have successfully registered and here is the joining URL. So this will be one of my use case for a webinar. Okay. Now, if I have to go to the patient's specialty, like patients will be like the person have booked an appointment with a doctor and then he got all the prescriptions, medicines and all. So I'm going to basically send him a message with all the expenses. Okay. So here I created a relationship with the patient and the contact, okay, which is now obviously the patient's. This can have like you have a billing ID as well. Okay, so it will be one to many relationship. Now the booking, I have created a booking one. You can create another one as well with the patient with many to one. So you can define all this relationship in the data designer. If you want, you can add, let's say, if I have any data extension that I can show you. So this was the healthcare and this was booking. So maybe I've already added this. Okay, I haven't added. So I have built a journey where I'm going to send the expenses billing to the patient. Okay, and once the patient basically pays all the fees and all, maybe I'll ask him for a feedback. And based on the feedback, maybe I'll follow up with the customer with the patient. So I can map this booking ID here. Okay, and this booking ID will be one to one, and then based on that booking ID, I can define my journey data based on whether should I follow up or no. Okay, whether the person has submitted a survey or not. All these actions can be taken into consideration. So attribute group mostly are used by when you're sending uh, journey builder communication. Okay, so the year where this comes into play with this one. So this becomes your attribute group relationship. There was some issue. You can again let me do this once again. So this was patient's feedback. Yeah, feedback, right? So this the booking ID and then save it. So here you get the treatment feedback from the journey track. I created my own custom tracking for that particular patient. So for patient billing, I created this one. Okay, like you have this expense, I have the booking one, right? Here, if you see this, I have created a booking relationship with treatment feedback and journey feedback and all. So if I, let's say, go to the attribute group and I say, let's say tracking, patients tracking, I say tracking and select an icon with this. Okay, let's create this one. Oops, this I have to keep on refreshing. So tracking one. Okay, let's select this one. Okay, and let's see if I want to link that data extension that was the tracking of that user. Okay, so from the healthcare, I go to the tracking treatment feedback, but obviously you need to have a proper relationship with the booking ID. Okay, so with the patients, okay, this can't be changed. Let's take another one. The billing. If I'm creating I'm trying to create a same data extension which a relationship already exists. Okay, so let's say with the healthcare, I take the patient's one. So let's say billing expenses. Okay. and here take the patient one, and I try to create with the patients with the billing one to many. What happens? See, all those relationships that you have built will be auto-populated here. Okay. See, so I don't have to again recreate all the relationships again. So it goes back to the tracking. So it's similar to tracking. So it will not create you, it not allow you. Okay, or this is can be taken as a advantage point. So if you have built a data designer already, all those relationship will be populated automatically. This is done to all contacts, right? So here in the all contacts, you can define, you can see how many contacts are associated with these different channels. Okay, if you have different sources like the manual one or the web collect or mobile opt-in, Facebook API or any other integrations, you can see the count. Okay, so in the all contacts, if you click, it will give you the all contacts count here. So that can be defined here. The most interesting is the mobile list. If that is enabled for you, from here it will help you filtering uh, contacts. Okay, like let's say if I have to say doctors who does not have the email address, I want to delete all those doctors. So here I have an option. I said, okay, so I want to filter out email which is not null. Or let me again refresh this. So I have a population of doctors. So here in the doctor, I say email address, and from here I say email address is not null. And if I just save this as a filter, okay, and once this gets refreshed, you can see how many records we have for a doctor which does not have email address. So obviously I haven't populated any data in the doctor's population. So I don't have any records, that is 0. But if I have to see all contacts, so similarly here, what I've done, I've taken all contacts, okay, system data where the email address is null, and where I've seen this filter here, I've selected all contacts. Okay, so we can go back. In this all contacts, there are only 29 contacts here. Okay, so out of these 29 contacts, we just refresh again. You'll see only there are in the all contacts, there are only 2 contacts which are does not have the email address. Okay, so this will give you a very good perspective of what data needs to be deleted. So you can see there are 29 contacts in all contacts, but if I have to see the records, there are only 2 records which does not have email address. Okay, so if I have to delete, I can delete this record. We'll discuss this tomorrow. I'm not going here today. And as I said, we have different data sources where you can define your attributes. Okay, like this date of birth is the profile attribute that was defined. Maybe I think some of the speakers might have defined how to define a profile attribute and the preference attributes. Okay, from synchronized data extension, yeah, this will be only enabled if you have the MC Connect. That has to enable. It will take some time, but it will reflect once you do the MC Connect. This one, okay. For this BU, I don't have this one. And let's say I created for WhatsApp. Okay, so I want to create my own data to be built into the data source. So I can create my data source here, give a name. Okay, let's say if you want to make it POS or say API or anything. Okay, let me get POS. Okay, give a description. I can let this now. Obviously, you can uh, do this. You can link the data as well. Okay, it will take some time to refresh, but yeah, you can add your attributes. Now you can come here. So let's say I want to bring the doctor's data, right? Or you want to link all those attributes which are not linked. So if this will be a patients, looks like for me, because for me, WhatsApp, I configured for doctor. So for patients, whatever attributes that is there, I can link this to this. So there are few doctors, so make it for patients. Okay. So whatever is for patients, I'm to add it, uh, data source. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's been added. So you can create your own data source here. Okay, so it has linked to 7 attributes, this link to 7 attributes, and so on. Let me know if I'm running out of time. Okay, I'll just stop if I have to stop. Then this one is one of the most important aspects here for the healthcare industry. I created this data extensions. Out of this doctor and the patients, I made it as a master one. Okay, but if you see here, let's say if I open the doctor's data extension, okay, so this is what you see, how you see in the contact builder. But the interesting thing, if you go to email studio, so from email studio, you can go to subscribers and then data extensions. And if I go to the healthcare industry, if I open the doctors, here you'll see this notification here, what it says. Okay. Contact builder uses the data extension as a part of the relationship. Perform any necessary edits in the contact builder. So this is one caveat. So if you try to combo edit, you will not get the edit option. Okay, it is disabled for you. If you do, you have already added this data extension into the data designer. Okay, so you should always come back to the data contact builder. Then you can add another attribute that you want here. I was discussing about this root use as root. That will be another discussion that we do. So here in the sendable data extension, when you're doing editing the behavior, so you're saying doctor ID and you have options, okay? Either to select subscriber key, either to select subscriber ID. So you have option. So normally select if you are not bringing the contact ID, you're not running the queries and all, is always preferred to use the subscriber key to make it sendable. As I said, I was discussing to make it used for testing. So you have a checkbox where you can create here, okay, you use for testing. It will help you with doing a preview and test and doing your Q&A for email sends and SMS, even including SMS sends, I guess. Okay. And
Hey, Sashi,
uh, mhm.
sorry to interrupt you. Just in the interest of time, is it possible to wrap up the demo in maybe next 5 minutes or so? And then if needed, we can continue into our
Yeah,
session.
yeah, yeah. I have. That's what I'm saying. I'm not good in PPTs and all. Though I created 55 slides. Still, I'm in 20, 30. I don't know. Yeah, and there are a lot of things. Yeah, either it should be a demo session or it should be not go with the PPT and go with the demo. So maybe that has to be. I have to understand this. Yeah. Anyway, I'll come. I'll try to complete this in 5 minutes. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, thank you so much.
Mm, okay. So the another point, important point, when you design data extensions via Email Studio, you have another tab called the tracking. Okay. And this will basically help you to understand how this data extension is performing. But for this, the another caveat is you need to have a publication list. So if you create a publication list and you start performing sends with this data extension, then basically you can do the tracking for that publication list, see how many active, bounds, undelivered, unsubscribed uh, subscribers you have in this data extension. That can be done. Okay, this is one very interesting fact that you can do. Let's say if I say webinar, okay, so for webinar invitation, if I perform a send, so maybe quickly I can show this. So for this this webinar session 11. Okay. So let's say if I'm sending an email by automation, okay, and say I'm going to select the audience. Okay. So if I have to select the audience and let me select the data extension. So this is a webinar. So webinar invitation. Once I select this, I have an option to select all subscriber or the publication list. So this is a webinar. I'm going to select the webinar publication list. Okay. I select, I configure, and then I can basically set it up. Once I set up and once I start sending this email for a webinar to the doctors, okay, I can come to this from the email studio. I can come to this webinar invitation data extension, and then I can track how many subscribers here. Okay, this will be only enabled once you have performed the sends, when you have the job ID and all. Then you can come here and see how many there are subscribers which are active, how many subscribers that are bounced, how many undelivered, how many unsubscribed. So from here you'll get a better perspective of how this particular data extension is working, and then you can do the data cleanup or archiving or whatever you want to do. Yeah, I think now I'll leave it here with this demo. I'll give it back to you.
We have questions, Shashi. I think, yeah,
Okay.
so where
Mhm.
attribute groups will be used? Srikala is asking.
Where attribute group will be used.
Yes.
So uh, the most important aspects when it comes to attribute group, normally people use to use as a contact data in Journey Builder, right? So oh, in Journey Builder, there is a lot of considerations. It will, I'll tell that one, okay? In the shortcut, we'll be using the Journey Builder and defining your relationship. When you're normalizing the data and storing the data into different data extensions, and even you have primary foreign key relationship that you have built, then that will be used in your data relationship as well. So that is the answer for that. Okay, and I can go into more details, like if you come to my blog, and there is one blog called Journey Builder Considerations. Okay, so maybe you would I would ask you to go to Journey Builder, this other one, but yeah, so there you go and you'll see, understand what is journey data and contact data, and how should you configure to for a better optimal way of creating a journey builder. Then you'll have a better understanding with the attribute group, which is used more frequently or more wisely or more dedicatedly in marketing cloud. But still you have the relationship building that is done, where you can't do a lot of manipulations and all when you have a attribute group. Yeah.
Can I know the difference between attribute groups and population? Ramesh is asking.
Sorry.
Uh, Difference between attribute groups and population.
Attribute group and population. Okay. So as I said, I told in the session as well, like when you're building a population, you're building a one-to-one relationship with contact key. Okay. So what happens is it is helping you that you in your account, you are not preparing duplicate contacts. It will help you if you are always assigning with the population, or you want to build a relationship saying there are certain sections of subscribers who are sending SMS, there are certain sections of subscribers who are sending email, right? And then when you go in a journey where certainly certain subscribers will prefer to have both SMS and email, at that time a lot of people will fall into prey of being a duplicate, creating a duplicate record. So if you have a population, it will help. Again, I said in the session, like if you prepare a population, it will help you with the data deletion. It will help you with GDPR, Japan policy, Australia policy, where you want to delete. So you have a master D, as I showed you in the tracking. Okay, these are the certain records which are getting unsubscribed. These are in the not active on held. I can bring those and take this data extension. Tomorrow you'll understand how we can delete contact and how the population will enhance your deletion, enhance your GDPR process and all. But yeah, this should be a data extension itself. Population is also a data extension, which has to be a sendable data extension. And it is, you just consider it as population as one-to-one having a relationship. So if you bring into the attribute group, okay, you make a master D and bring into the attribute group, and then you define the relationship. You can't build the same data extension as population. Did I answer that?
Yep, yep. So there's one more question from Lakshmi. She's asking, How do we reduce MC cost? Is it just by deleting unsubscribers, or are we just holding the contacts?
How we delete the MC cost?
Yeah, marketing cloud.
See, cost is defined by different parameters. Okay, it's not only related to. So your point is only with related to the subscriber
Yeah, so
count, that is
subscribers
the
or
contact count.
yeah, contact. Yeah,
Yeah. So you're not discussing how many API calls, how many automations, how many. So you know, uh, you said how many domains and other things are you
contact
purchasing. That are
related
different costs.
cost. Yes, yes, contact
Yeah.
related cost is Lakshmi asking.
Okay. So can you again reframe this? I want to hear it properly.
Okay, so she's saying like, hey, if I want to reduce my marketing cloud cost, so
Yeah.
do I need to reduce it on the basis of contacts, or probably only through unsubscribe? So how do I manage
Yeah.
it?
Yeah. So again, going, yeah. So this will be a cost related to contacts. Okay. So
Yes.
first thing is, see, we face a lot of issues with respect to the number of contacts that you are injecting into Marketing Cloud, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, it should not always be like whom you call it unsubscribe. Unsubscribe jargon is only used for email communication,
Yeah.
right? So if you're concentrating with the email communication, why always it will be unsubscribe? A person can resubscribe as well, but there are other status as well, which is called held,
Hmm.
right? So there will be bounce also. Bounce also has different categories of bounces: soft bounce, hard bounce, and there will be other bounces. Okay. So when you're doing, if you want to reduce this cost, it will be always like not adding to them to the all contacts, not adding to the all subscribers. Mm, you can prepare an automation, you can build an automation that will basically go and see how many all subscribers in the all subscriber list you have hailed and unsubscribed, and you can perform. That is one way to do it. The other way to do is from the starting point itself, why are we going to bring all the data into Marketing Cloud if you are not going to send them a communication? So start from the very beginning. If you are doing an import, you start from there, whether you are going to send them communication or not, whether they have given the consent or not, okay, or
Mm-hmm.
whether they have the email address or not,
Yes.
right? So when you're doing an import, so maybe at the very beginning you might think, okay, I'm going to import all those data which have a valid email address.
Mm-hmm.
You're reducing the cost, right? After that, you're adding another filter. Okay, I'm going to create an automation to filter out all those subscribers which are in held and unsubscribed. I'm going to remove them from all contacts. Okay. And maybe if I were to retain those customers, maybe I'll retain them in the non-sendable data extension, calling it an archival mechanism. So if sometimes if I have to inject again, then I'm going to inject. So there are different ways to basically reduce the cost.
Seems
Did that
that's the
answer that?
question. Yes, yes, yes. So I think that's the number of questions that we have. Thanks, Shashi. Thank you so much for your session. So I guess yeah, we might have interrupted you. So sorry. But yeah, so I think yeah, we can cover the remaining part of the demo tomorrow, in the tomorrow session. Vishal, do you want to take up for the quiz?
Yes, sure, Prashant.
Thank you.
Yeah, so once again, a very big thank you to Sashi for such a wonderful session. I'm sure the attendees would also have found the session very insightful and have learned something new. So with this, we will now move on to our today's quiz session. Let me quickly stop the recording. Prashant, can you help stop the recording?
Yep.